Go ahead and call to order the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners meeting here in Elko with remote feeds to Reno and Las Vegas. We closed item 7 before the break, so we'll open with item 8, Finance Committee, Committee Chairman Gil Yannick and Deputy Director Liz O'Brien. This is a three-parter, so we will start with item A, Finance Committee Report. Again, Committee Chairman Gil Yannick, informational. The Commission will hear a report on the committee's recent meeting. Mr. Yannick, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the Commission, for the record, Gil Yannick. I'd like to read into the record the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting that was held on Wednesday, June 8th, 2016. Meeting was opened at 1:15 p.m. Present in Reno was myself. Attending telephonically were members Dixon and Commissioner Johnston. Also in attendance was the NDOW staff, which were present, was Deputy Director Liz O'Brien and also ASO Gabe Pincolini. First, the next item on the agenda was approval of the agenda. Member Commissioner Johnston made a motion to accept the agenda as submitted. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon. Motion passed unanimously. There was no public present at this meeting. Approval of the minutes from the June 4th, 2015 Finance Committee meeting. Again, no public comments were made. There were no comments or corrections to the minutes from the members, and a motion was made by Commissioner Johnston to approve the minutes as submitted. The motion was seconded by Member Dixon. Motion passed unanimously. There were no member items brought up by anybody present at the meeting. Item number 5 was an action item regarding the County Advisory Board State Fiscal Year 2017 budget requests. Members of the Finance Committee reviewed the data provided by the department's financial analyst, Bruce McDaniel. Chair Yannick explained the process by which the information submitted by each county advisory board was collected, together with the information from each county finance officer as to the amounts remaining in the CAB budget in order to determine the amount of augmentation required. Members Dixon and Commissioner Johnston asked similar questions regarding the amount of funds remaining in the accounts of the various county advisory boards and requested that this information be added to the list of supporting information that the department provides to the committee next year. Deputy Director O'Brien agreed that this information will be supplied next year. The committee then reviewed the amount requested by each county advisory board and the preliminary amount recommended by NDOW to be provided to each county advisory board. There being no further discussion, a motion was made by Member Dixon to approve the CAB budget request recommendation to the Wildlife Commission in the amount of $39,186. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Johnston, and the motion passed unanimously. Again, there was no public comment. Item number 6 was future committee meetings and agenda items. Chair Yannick opened a discussion pertaining to the need to periodically audit the county advisory board accounts. It has been a number of years since the county advisory accounts had been audited, and it is his suggestion that each county advisory board account be audited in state fiscal year 2017 and randomly in each of the following years. It is also his intention to work with Deputy Director O'Brien and ASO Pincolini to develop the various documents, forms, and instructions that will be distributed to the county advisory boards and county financial officers as to how the audits will be conducted, the information that will be collected, and the time frame established for responses. A workshop will be held to explain the duties and responsibilities of the county advisory boards and the county financial officers once the various documents are finalized. Item number 7 was public comment period, and Chair Yannick expressed his appreciation to the members of the committee for their time and their efforts to review the various documents, and to Deputy Director O'Brien ASO Pincolini, and financial analyst McDaniel for their tremendous effort put forth to assemble the CAB budget submittals and to arrive at the budget recommendation. There was no further public comment. There being no further public comment, Member Dixon made a motion to adjourn. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Johnston and passed unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 1:38 p.m. Any comments, questions about what took place?
Questions for Gil? Appreciate the thorough report. So with that, item 8A was an informational item, and we'll close 8A and we'll open 8B. Gil, unless there's something, 8A was good, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll open item 8B. This is fiscal year 2017 County Advisory Board budget request. Committee Chairman Gil Yannick for possible action. The Commission may approve budgets for county advisory boards to manage wildlife for fiscal year 2017.
Yeah, in the support material for this particular item, the members of the Commission can see that the recommendation that we're making that be approved is a total of $39,186 will be sent to augment the current balances in the various county accounts. There's one thing I'd like to add, because there's been couple of questions raised by a couple of the county advisory boards as to how we come up with this number for augmentation. We did receive a comment from one county that, gee, it looked like we got a tremendous reduction in what we were asking for. And they must be new at doing this. And I think that the response that Commissioner Johnston sent to the County Advisory Board was just 100% correct, and said very politely and very succinctly that you have to take, it isn't the question, when you look at what you requested, and you have to take into account what you have left in your treasury. In addition, we give you credit for this meeting here, and you got exactly what you asked for to have in your treasury account to carry you through state fiscal year 2017. So they just didn't understand that they already have money in their account, and hopefully when we do this next workshop, any people who are new to this process, it'll become much more clear to them. But that was the only, I think one other county called me and asked a similar question, and they got a similar answer. It's just they just weren't familiar how the game is played.
And along those lines, I had that question come up at one of the county advisory boards that I attended, and I think I made the same explanation to them at the time. But in looking at the support material, I could understand who someone who maybe hasn't been through the process would get that impression. And so one of the recommendations I would make is next year on the support material that we just do a couple footnotes that indicate what the difference between FY budget request is and the preliminary recommended, and that way it's right on the support material.
Yeah, I think that the questions that were raised previously by Commissioner Johnston and Member Dixon, a spreadsheet like this, which really this is what we really go by, but we just never send the complete thing out to them. Perhaps it's something, it's not secret, so maybe once they see how the final number is actually generated, it makes much more sense to somebody who looks at the complete spreadsheet rather than they asked for 5,000 and they got 500, not realizing there was 4,500 left in their account. So that's the way it went.
Okay. Additional questions or discussion by the Commission? Commissioner Johnston?
I did receive, it was copied on the email from the Lyon County CAB. They thought their budget was being cut by 90%. I explained to them that wasn't what happened, how the math works. Perhaps their former chairman may have done a better job than he did in explaining the budget process. So perhaps it's my fault that they didn't understand it, but once it was explained, I should think. And I tried to explain it as succinctly as possible.
Okay. Additional questions? Commissioner Bliss?
Thanks, Chairman Drew. Gil, on Lander County, shows that they requested 12,000, and then there was no money allocated to them. Is their account at a zero balance? And was there any contact with Lander County to see if they?
Lander County is reporting $9,363 in their account.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there was some money there if they showed
And,
up.
and we looked at the
It was-
number of meetings they attended last year.
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is I just wanted to make sure that there was some money in the account. For
Oh, yes.
If someone new on their board come on and was active and showed up, that there would be money available for
There's
them to do that.
definitely funds available.
I was in that position at one time when I was on the Eureka County Board and requested some money and took a lashing from then Commissioner Bradley, who did not know that I was in the audience because no one from Eureka had showed up. And then after he was done, Chairman Ford introduced us. and we did get some money, and then I started attending meetings.
Yeah, well, it should be understood by each of the counties that, these are all estimates of expenditures. Meeting locations can be changed. Methods of travel would have to change in accordance with that. And we have, over the years, several counties had asked for augmentation for additional funding because they saw they were going to come up short by the end of the year. And we have a procedure to take care of that. So nobody will not be able to come to a meeting for lack of funds.
Additional questions? I had one more, Gil, and it's actually from a county that asked if they could use a portion of their allocation to buy an advertisement in the local paper for their meetings. And I told them I didn't know the answer to that, but I would ask it.
Well,
Most local papers will have a community blotter, and that's what I encourage them to do. But
yeah, I think if they contact the editor of the paper, because we do that, and I've told that to many other counties, how do we make the public aware? And usually most local papers have a what's going on column and the various meetings of various organizations, particularly one like this. And so, yeah, no, it's not intended to be used for advertising purposes.
okay, I just wanted to verify that. Additional questions? This is an action item, so County Advisory Board input on item 8B, fiscal year 2017 budget requests. Mr. Rittenhouse?
Bob Rittenhouse, Douglas. You brought up a point that was at the Douglas meeting, and I have already contacted the editor of the newspaper, and he's more than willing to place those ads as we discussed.
Great.
So that's taken care of.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Additional county input? Item 8B. Seeing none, public input in Elko. How about Reno for 8B?
Yes.
Yes, we have comment in Reno.
Go ahead.
Yes, for the record, Fred Volz, two issues come up with these numbers. First, on the auditing, it would seem as though the same process that NDOW has for auditing its various accounts would apply to the CAB, since the money is coming out of the NDOW treasury, if you will, and not the local counties. But in the alternative, the local counties also have a process for auditing their accounts and expenditures. So it would seem as though that responsibility needs to be squarely placed in one spot or the other. And secondly, regarding even the $39,000 that's being requested, we've seen no demonstration that there's been any effort to cut these costs over the years. Basically, we have people, Mr. Yannick, Mr. Beamer, for example, who could have attended here in Reno, but instead went all the way out to Elko. Those are travel expenses that have to be reimbursed out of these funds. And it would be nice to see if truly spreading money as far as we can, which has been mentioned a couple of times this morning, applied to this subject. These numbers should go way, way down for many of the counties. Thank you.
Anything else in Reno?
No more comment in Reno.
Okay, now how about Las Vegas?
No comment in Las Vegas.
bring it back to the commission. Any further question or discussion? Seeing none, Gil, anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, this is an action item. I would entertain a motion. Commissioner Johnston?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I understand that there may be some cost savings if we have video conferencing. If we were to say Clark County, you stay in Clark County and participate via video, and those who are closer to Reno, I understand there's a potential cost savings there. But I also think there's a significant value of face-to-face interaction and meeting in the same room. And so while I understand that money can be saved, I believe that that is offset by the value of face-to-face interaction and communication. So I'm comfortable with budget requests that allow the cabs to travel to the meeting locations, because I think that provides value.
Commissioner Bliss?
And thanks, Chairman Drew. I agree with Mr. Johnson, and you know what? Video conferencing ain't free either. It's cost us a lot of time and money as well, and so there's an expense to all of it to try to make everybody happy. There, in my opinion, being right here for this meeting, I'm glad Gil's here. You have to be, in my opinion. So.
Additional comments? Okay. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. I'll move to approve fiscal year 2017 County Advisory Board budget request as presented. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bliss, a second by Commissioner Valentine to approve fiscal year 2017 CAB budgets as presented and requested by the department. Is there any discussion or question on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Gil. Appreciate all your time and efforts. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you very much.
With that, we'll close item 8B and open item 8C, fiscal year 2018-2019 NDOW biennial budget. Deputy Director Liz O'Brien for possible action. The Commission may make recommendations to the Department for biennial budget requests. Ms. O'Brien, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Drew and members of the Commission. If I could, for a moment, could I go back to the indirect cost response that you had earlier on the duck stamp and the upland game stamp and describe that? Because Mark Farman's definition needs to be expanded.
I don't
Can I do that now?
think there's an issue. Yep, so go ahead.
So may I go ahead? So indirect costs are any costs that cannot be directly associated with a program, such as utilities, rents, all administrative costs to include fiscal. Statutorily, the duck stamp and the upland game stamp are restricted to up to 10% of the revenue received for the year. That doesn't mean that we will charge that. That's just the up to amount. The budget as written by Mark is correct following that, but it is an up to rate. And we do consistently allocate across all programs, and federally and non. So I just wanted to correct that.
Appreciate that.
Okay. So with the 79th regular session of the Nevada legislature less than a year away, we are working hard on preparing the Department of Wildlife's agency request budget for the 2017-19 session, or state fiscal years 18-19. The Governor's Budget Division, and the Department of Wildlife are working closely to submit an agency request budget that aligns with the current state of Nevada's economy and the new strategic planning framework developed by the members of the Governor's Cabinet, in which NDOW's director is a member. The agency request budget is the first phase in the process due September 1, 2016. The fiscal year 2016 expenditures serve as the base amount for the budget. These expenditures are then adjusted up or down as needed to either continue operations at the current service level, of removal of one-time costs, or the annualization of partial level spending. So as information becomes available, we will continue to update the Commission and let you know where we're at. And that's all I have on that. Do you have any questions?
I know this was listed for possible action. Liz, was there anything today that you were looking for direction or input from this commission on, or is it more of an update?
It's just an update for today.
Great. Questions? Seeing none, I will open it up because it is listed for possible action. Is there any county advisory board input on 8C? Or public comment in Elko? Public comment in Reno on item 8C?
No comment in Reno.
Thank you. And Las Vegas?
No comment in Las Vegas.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. With that, we'll close item 8C, which wraps up item 8. We will open item number 9, Wildlife Heritage Committee Commissioner and Committee Chair Grant Wallace. Item A, and this is going to be a three-parter as well. But A initially is the Heritage Committee report, and Commissioner Wallace will be providing that. This is informational. The Commission will hear a report on the committee's recent meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Heritage Committee met last night, and we discussed, I'll just kind of go through the agenda here real quick. We went over Policy 10 and Policy 11 and reviewed them for some cleanup changes, and then those will actually be coming forth to the Commission for the August meeting for those changes. So those will be in the support material for the August meeting for the cabs and for the commissioners to look at. So we'll kind of leave that at that because I don't have that paper with me here today. And then we looked at possibly doing a sealed bid process for remaining tags that weren't necessarily allocated. And as a committee, we came to the determination that we wanted to leave that process as is for the time being. And after some input from the public and cabs, and then also from the commissioners, that was the decision of the committee to just leave the process as it is for the time being. And then we went over extensions for the projects, which the next three, I think we'll just go to the next three items because that's essentially what we're going to be discussing. So we can.
Any questions on the report or input from additional committee members? Okay, hearing none. We'll open item A1. This is 9A1 Heritage Project Extension Request. Commissioner and Committee Chair Wallace for possible action pursuant to NAC 501.340. The Commission will review committee recommendations and may approve requests for extension of projects approved in the previous year. And Commissioner Wallace, before I turn it over to you, I'm going to disclose a potential conflict on the next three items. Just given the line of work that I'm in, there are a couple of projects listed on this year's request, as well as some past projects that our company has been involved with. And out of abundance of caution, I think I'm going to abstain from those requests. So the next three votes I will be abstaining from, for the record. So A1.
Okay.
Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the extension requests, we had a total of 10 extension requests. And I'll go over them each one by one. Two of them are actually from fiscal year 2013. It was Project 1304, the Overland Big Wash was the title of that project, for an amount of $65,000. And the reason for the extension was there was a delay with the contractor, and the work will start this August and be completed by the end of November. And just to throw it out there, the committee recommended to extend all of these projects. 1308 was another one for $35,000. Also a delay for NEPA compliance, and it will be expected to be funds spent this fall. Fiscal year 2014, project 1404, a project in the amount of $30,000. Also a delay gaining BLM environmental clearances with the contractor, and work's expected to start this summer and completed by the end of calendar year 2016. That was the amount of $30,000. Fiscal year 2015, we had project 1502, respiratory pathogens in mountain goats, assessing effects on recruitment and transmission risk to sympatric bighorn sheep. Was in the amount of $35,000 awarded, and there was a balance of $9,037.32. And the reason for the extension was the staff needed to wait until a disease transmission event was complete, and now we'll use the remaining funds during January 2017. And also 1505, Wildlife Seed Response Seed Fund. And reason for the request was fiscal year 16 was not a big fire year, and there's a good chance these funds will be spent during fiscal year 17 since there is a lot of fuel in the state from the wet winter we had. Fiscal year 2016 projects, 1603, the Sierra Front Winter Mule Deer Habitat Project. The reason for the extension was early precipitation last fall delayed some of the work. Work to be conducted during the next 2 falls. 1604, the Atlanta Road Sage Grouse Habitat Improvement. That one actually had another, I think I'll have Mark Farman come up and explain a little bit on that one. We needed to change the scope on that just a little bit to make the funding work properly. And I'll have him come up and talk about that in just a minute here. 1606 was the Mule Deer Corridor and Survival Analysis. And the reason for the request was additional data retrieval and analysis will be conducted in fiscal year 17 and a few more collars deployed. 1609 North Shell Pinion Juniper Removal Project. Reason for the request, early snowstorm last fall delayed some of the work, but will commence this July and be completed by September. 1613, genetic connectivity among desert bighorn sheep populations in Nevada. A reason for the request, extension request, another funding source is being combined with the Heritage Award to do this work. There was a delay in obtaining the other source. And that's all the ones that we had a request for extension for, and the committee voted to grant those extensions. I'd like to have Mark come up and kind of brief us on the Atlanta Road project.
Thank you, Mark Farman, Habitat Staff Specialist. As Commissioner Wallace just pointed out, the committee last night approved the motion to extend all of these projects that are on this that he just reviewed. In addition, there was a separate motion that was approved with respect to the Atlanta Road Sage Grouse project, which I'll just briefly summarize. Staff recommended that the scope of work, not the overall project scope of work is the same. We just simply asked that the $50,000 that was awarded to this project from the Heritage account be allowed to be used for any of the project elements and not just for tree removal. If you probably don't remember, but in the Heritage proposals that were sent out way back for FY16, there's a whole bunch of different project components, including not only tree removal, but aerial seeding and other elements. And it turns out that the staff that's managing that project has requested that they be allowed to use the Heritage funds for seeding component, because we can use an existing NDOW contract to expedite the spending of those funds as opposed to just for tree removal. And the reason for that is tree removal would require a new contract with the BLM, which would slow things down. So we're trying to take advantage of our existing seeding contract. So all we're doing is asking that the $50,000 can be used for any of the project components and not just for tree removal.
Okay. Any questions or further inputs on extensions? Okay, seeing none, is there any County Advisory Board input on item 9A1? This is the Heritage Project extension request. Public comment in Elko? Public comment in Reno?
No comment in Reno.
And Las Vegas?
No comment in Las Vegas.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring it back to the commission. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the project extension request for project 1304, 1308, 1404, 1502, 1505, 1603, 1604, 1606, 1609, 1613, and also at the same time changing the scope of project 1604 for any element of the project.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Wallace and a second by Commissioner Bliss to approve project extensions for Project 1304, 1308, 1404, 1502, 1505, 1603, 1604, 1606, 1609, and 1613, with a clarification that on 1604, which is Atlanta Road Sage Grouse Habitat Improvement, that any project element could be funded. Are there questions or discussion on that motion? Just so I'm clear, that is consistent with the committee's recommendation?
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries with myself as an abstention unanimously. With that, we'll close item 9A1